Bienvenidos, benvindu to the Soccermetrics Copa Libertadores show, a production of Soccermetrics and Soccer Down Here, the only English language podcast devoted to South America's premier club competition. I'm your host, Howard Hamilton, the founder of Soccermetrics. The matches are fewer and the goals more important as the 2024 Copa Libertadores field reduces from 8 teams to 4. In this episode, I'll recap all 4 quarterfinal ties and introduce you to this season's semifinalists. We start with this week's scores. In the top half of the Libertadores bracket, River Plate 1, Colo-Colo 0. River advanced 2-1 on aggregate. Atlético Mineiro 2, Fluminense 0. Atlético Mineiro advanced 2-1 on aggregate. In the lower half of the bracket, Sao Paulo FC 1, Botafogo 1. Tied 1-1 on aggregate, Botafogo advanced 5-4 on penalty kicks. And Peñarol 0, Flamengo 0. Peñarol advanced 1-0 on aggregate. So there were a total of 5 goals in the 4 matches, resulting in 2 home wins and 2 draws. So now you know the scores, here's what happened in the Libertadores this week. And we start with River's 1-0 victory over Colo-Colo. This is a match that wasn't River Plate's best performance, but it was a professional and controlled one. River were lined up in a 4-1-4-1 formation, and they employed high pressure on Colo-Colo to pin them back. The deciding goal was scored in the 16th minute. River had a free kick that was sent to the left side of the penalty area. It was blocked away, but not with a lot of distance. The resulting second ball was floated over to the opposite side of the penalty area by Santiago Simón, who met a surging Facundo Colidio in the penalty area. And he was onside because Vidal and another Colo-Colo center back left him onside. Colidio converted with a side-footed right foot volley past the Colo-Colo goalkeeper. From there, River had at least 2 chances to double the lead and seal the tie through Acuna, through Borja, Petzela, and Mesa, but failed to do so. Nevertheless, Colo-Colo were really hamstrung by River Plate's pressure. They were pinned back in their own half. For most of their possessions consisted of the ball being worked around the back 3 toward Lucas Cepeda on the left. And despite Arturo Vidal leading expected assists, he did not have as much possession as he had in the home leg. Only the insertion of Guillermo Paiva established links in the middle of the field for El Cacique. Their closest chance to an equalizer came right near the end when Cristian Zavala, who was on for Mauricio Isla, was linked on the right side, but his shot drew a sharp save from River keeper Franco Armani. This was still a really good performance for Colo-Colo. A Chilean team has not performed at these heights in Copa Libertadores in several years, but the last 8 was really their ceiling in this tournament. As for River Plate, they advanced to the semifinal, their first semifinal since 2020, and the winners of 4 Libertadores titles, the last being in 2018, they have a chance to appear in yet another Libertadores final, this time in their home stadium. River will face Atlético Mineiro, who defeated Fluminense 2-0 to advance on aggregate. This is a match in which Atlético dominated the proceedings. They enjoyed the majority of possession. They had almost all the initiative, and they could have asserted their advantage early, but Hulk missed the penalty in the first 10 minutes of the match. Their wide play generated a lot of scoring opportunities through Paulinho, Scarpa Vera, and Alan Franco. but very few quality shots resulted from this dominance in possession. It was only the second half, with the insertion of Daverson, that Atletico started to assert an advantage and started to convert that advantage to actual goal scoring opportunities and eventually goals. In the 50th minute, Daverson was running into the center of the box, and he darted out wide to meet a left wing cross by Gustavo Scarpa. Daverson redirected the ball with his twisting head past the Fluminense keeper to give Mineiro a 1-0 lead and level the tie. From there were only two questions to be decided in this match. Would Atletico find a winner, or would the tie be decided through a penalty shootout? The answer came 2 minutes from time. Mineiro had never possession on the right-hand side, and this time the ball found its way to Hulk, who has been more of a creator than a goal scorer at his age. Hulk sent in the ball from the right side that sliced all the way through the penalty area. Daverson slid in, met the ball with his left foot at the far post to score Mineiro's second and put them ahead on aggregate. Fluminense's defense of the Libertadores title that they won in 2023 came to an end. Atletico are in the semifinal for the first time since 2021. They won Libertadores back in 2013 when Ronaldinho led them to their lone Libertadores title. In the lower half of the bracket, Sao Paulo leveled with Botafogo 1-1 and sent the series to a penalty kick shootout, which Botafogo won 5-4. This was a match in which Botafogo had more of the advantage and actually took the lead relatively early. And their play was led through the performance of Thiago Almada. This was Almada's best match for Botafogo since he joined the team during the summer. He led the team in expected assists, he led the team in expected goals, and he produced and scored the only goal of this match. Botafogo were able to turn the ball over in Sao Paulo's last third. Jefferson Savarino ran wide into the penalty area. His attempted cross was blocked by keeper Rafael, but the deflection found Almada's head, and the ball fell into the back of the Sao Paulo net. Botafogo were looking more dangerous consistently throughout this match. Yet Sao Paulo had a chance to level the tie in the 45th minute when VAR identified a handball in the penalty area and gave Sao Paulo a penalty. But Lucas Moura missed the ensuing penalty kick by clipping the crossbar. It was Moura's first penalty kick miss of his entire career. Sao Paulo's creative chances came through Moura, Luis Gustavo, and William Tirato. The scoring chances came through Caleri, and he missed a huge chance to level a tie around the hour mark. He made amends for that really shocking miss about 5 minutes from time when his header met an Andre Silva cross and went past the Botafogo keeper into the back of the net to level the scores on the night and on aggregate. And it wouldn't be a Libertadores knockout match without a big bench-clearing brawl near the end. The ball came out. The ball came out on the touchline, in between the two technical areas. One of the players was trying to get the ball back to execute a throw-in, and a big brawl ensued for really no reason at all. As a result, two bench players, one for each side, were sent off by the referee. There were no other major events in the remainder of this match, so the tie was decided by a penalty kick shootout. In the first round of the penalty kick shootout, Caleri, who had just scored the equalizer for Sao Paulo, hit the post in the first round of the shootout. Cheche and Danilo Barbosa gave Botafogo the lead in their first 2 rounds of the shootout. Luis Gustavo, Lucas Moura, and Igor Vinicius converted their penalty kick chances in the second, third, and fourth rounds. Fernando Marcal scored in the third round, but Coutinho skied his attempt in the fourth round of Botafogo's attempts. So now it was level at 3 goals apiece. In the fifth round of the penalty kick shootout, Luciano Neves converted, and it was left to Thiago Almada to convert his spot kick to send it to a sixth round. His penalty kick was actually the best executed of all the penalty kicks, high inside the upper 90. In the sixth round, Rodrigo Nestor's shot, a really tame shot, was saved by the Botafogo goalkeeper, and the final kick was left to Mateus Martins. He converted his shot, sending Botafogo to the semifinal for the first time since 1973. The other match, the final match of the quarterfinal round, was Peñarol's goalless draw at home against Flamengo. Flamengo enjoyed most of the possession in this match. Peñarol were very content to defend and pick out their chances. Despite Flamengo's dominance of the possession and almost all the scoring opportunities, very few of their chances resulted in truly dangerous opportunities for Flamengo and truly dangerous moments for Peñarol. They didn't play with a lot of width. TJ made all of the changes that he could. He made 5 changes, all of them replacing defensive players with more forward ones, with the exception of the insertion of David Luiz. Gabigol made an appearance during the second half, wearing shirt number 99, incidentally, but he was ineffective. Likewise, the midfielders De Arrascaeta and De La Cruz, who have been such midfield stalwarts for Flamengo over the last 6 or 7 years, were also ineffective. As for Peñarol, they chose to play a very compact style. They were not very wide, but this was a match that really required a lot of grit and a lot of defensive solidity. And if you know anything about Uruguayan sides, they're really good at grit and defensive solidity. Leo Fernandez was most incisive in terms of attacking play for Peñarol. But yet again, the best player for Mania was Washington Aguirre, Peñarol keeper. So at the end of this goalless draw, Peñarol advanced 1-0 in aggregate. They're back in the last 4 for the first time since 2011, when they advanced to the final, and they have won this competition 5 times, second only to Independiente and Boca Juniors. Their last title was in 1987, and incidentally, Diego Aguirre, who's the manager of Peñarol, scored the winner in a very famous final against Atletico Cali, America de Cali, rather. So we now have the final 4 of this season's Libertadores, and the matchups are the following. I'll list the lower seeded team first. In the first semifinal, Atlético Mineiro will play River Plate. In the second semifinal, Botafogo will host Peñarol in the first leg. The first legs will be played in Rio and Belo Horizonte on October 22nd and 23rd, and the return legs in Buenos Aires and Montevideo on October 29 and 30th. All matches kick off at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time or 9:30 p.m. local time. So we're going to have one match that involves group stage winners and the other match involving group stage runners-up. I think one thing that we can say looking at these semifinal matchups is that the best teams in the quarterfinal ties have advanced to the last 4, and the 4 best teams in the tournament are in the last 4. You can make an argument about Palmeiras having a bit of an unfair matchup or unfortunate matchup, but Botafogo make a really strong argument for being one of the 4 best teams in this tournament. And remember that Botafogo started in the second qualifying round. We all remember their late season slide that saw them get knocked out of a group stage place for this season's Libertadores. But they started in the second qualifying round. They had a slow start in the group stage before they got together. They made key signs in the transfer window, and they are arguably the best team in Brazil at this present moment. So there are two really compelling, really interesting matchups in the semifinal round, and it's going to be really interesting to see which of these two teams will advance to the final in Buenos Aires in late November. Now, as a reminder, you can find XG maps, flowcharts, and passing network maps for every Libertadores match on the Soccermetrics' X feed. Match data supplied by Data Factory Latin America. If you wish to follow me and send a comment or question, my X handle is @Soccermetrics. You can also send questions or comments to @SoccerDownHere or to Jason Longshore @Longshoe. I'll return next week to report news from the Libertadores, introduce you to this season's Copa Libertadores Femenina competition, and present that long-awaited vignette on Alberto Spencer. This has been the Soccermetrics Copa Libertadores show, a production of Soccermetrics and Soccer Down Here. See you later. Hasta luego e até mais.